But let's focus on the reason why over 2,000 of you have tuned in today, which is because simply overnight the world changed to the degree that moving forward, we're likely to be talking through the lens of either pre-COVID or post-COVID. From the moment our respective shutdowns kicked in, we all started building new routines as we climatized to physical distancing measures. These new routines have also over-indexed on technology to solve for our needs to stay connected with our colleagues, with our friends, with our families, but also to solve for our needs of learning, staying fit, cooking well, and shopping. Retail is one of the sectors that's been disproportionately impacted by this tectonic shift and has had to cram over 2 years of innovation into a matter of months. And for businesses to survive now, let alone thrive, it's mission critical to prioritize e-commerce as the pillar for shopping exploration, engagement, conversion, and fulfillment. And many brands and retailers have had to reimagine their e-commerce platforms and the cornerstones of what constitutes a seamless online shopping experience. And what will the blended shopping experience of digital and physical retail look like in the years to come as we reopen the economy? So with that in mind, I'm thrilled to welcome an expert panel of leaders in this space to introduce themselves before we unpack this topic. Starting with Deborah. Deborah, are you there?
Hi, Ian. Thanks for that great introduction and for inviting me to this wonderful topic. As Ian said, I'm here with you as the head of Nike Direct for what we call EMEA West. To Nike, that means all our retail channels that we go direct to market, direct to our consumers in, so physical and digital. And EMEA West is a fancy title for the UK and Republic of Ireland, and it's in our broader EMEA business. So thank you for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deborah. We are so proud and so happy to have you with us because we do know that you oversee both the digital and own retail components of Nike out there in the UK and Ireland. So we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this topic. Also with us, we have got Shimona from Shopify. Shimona, are you there?
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Shimona. Thank you so much.
It's great to be with everyone today and to talk a little bit about this important topic and very timely. I'm super thrilled actually to be here both with Deborah and Nicole. I think it's gonna be a really fun hour together, learning actually from each other. And as Ian mentioned, I'm the head of Europe, Middle East, and Africa for Shopify Plus. Shopify, of course, is a global e-commerce platform that powers entrepreneurs of every size, whether small or billions of dollars a year in our Shopify Plus world, with all the tools that you need to run a successful business, both online and offline. So I lead the strategy, go-to-market, and operations here in Europe for us.
Wonderful. Thanks, Shimona. We can't wait to hear your thoughts on this topic too. And finally, but no means least, Nicole from Chipotle, hot off the heels of her earnings call yesterday. Hi, Nicole. Are you there?
Hi, Ian, I am. Hello, nice to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us in such a busy time.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. So I am the VP of Digital Strategy and Product Management at Chipotle. So my group is responsible for technology that our customers interact with when ordering our delicious food outside of our restaurants, so mobile app.com, et cetera, as well as supporting our in-restaurant crew members with some technologies that make their work experience a little more seamless and a little bit more fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Nicole. And we also look forward to your thoughts on this topic too. And so let's get going with some Q&A with the panelists. And I'm going to just change the view up to make it a lot more engaging for those of you tuned in. Can we see everyone? Nicole, you, I think, just dropped off there, but I'm sure you'll be popping back on in a second. Cool. So I think there's a lot to cover, no doubt. And those that are tuned in might be working in retail, might be working in media, advertising, might be looking at new skills. Pretty much retail touches everyone. And that's the beauty of this topic. And I think we're going to kick off with one question each. Each of your companies are playing such an essential role in retail today and the retail of tomorrow, paving the way, crafting the blueprints, if you will, for how to come out of this moment that we're in and also what the future might look like. So thank you to all of your companies and all your hard work. Starting with Deborah at Nike, I wanted to just talk a little bit about your third quarter revenue that was up year over year. And in the midst of the coronavirus situation, that's exceptional. Experts citing that a strong digital and global strategy is a firm reason for this. It would be wonderful if you could lend some further insight into how you guys did that and what is attributing to the success at Nike.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, we did have a fantastic third quarter. I think it was 5%, as you said, year on year. And this was in the midst of the coronavirus situation, right? Which had already hit China, which is a large part of our business as well. But I think the success that we saw really was attributed to the fact that we had strong growth through that quarter around the globe, a really strong brand and strong digital and physical channels leading into that. And that was able to kind of make up for some of the challenges we started to see earlier in that quarter in China. So maybe I'll step back and tell you a little bit about that, which might lead to like what we see now, which is probably more what everyone's kind of tuned in for. So I think we would have only had a few weeks in Europe by that point in time that we were kind of in the midst of this current crisis and more getting closer to lockdown for physical retail and for all of us. So, you know, at that time, we had actually, through, I think about 45 days of that quarter, had shut most of our stores, our physical stores, over 5,000 of them in China. And it was quite an extraordinary time for the business. And the first priority, and some of the reasons why I'll lend to this, is it tells you about what we're doing now, really were our team and just making sure we could swiftly get them safe and the safety of our consumers by changing the way we operated, and then quite quickly actually shutting down because that was the right thing to do at that point in time. I think the other thing we did really swiftly there was shift to our digital channels, leverage our app ecosystem and our commerce channels to start both reaching out to our own athletes, as we call them, and employees, but also to reach out to consumers. And the response we saw there was phenomenal. You can imagine, you know, more than 10 times the take up in a current period versus last year in some of our digital engagement apps. So this would be like our NTC and NRC. These are the apps our consumers use at home to stay active, either in training or running, and to connect with each other. And so that was phenomenal. And similarly, we saw some upward engagement in our digital ecosystem, like actual commerce, because a lot of consumers were just unable to get to stores to physically procure. So the benefit, I guess you could say, as you started, is this due to a global strategy? Yes, I mean, we stuck to our strategy, but we had global learnings, and we were able to pivot that into a playbook that we started to apply when we came to Europe and the US, which, you know, we're currently in and had been hit by the crisis a bit later. So again, quickly, 4 things we looked at. 1, physical health and safety of our consumers. I personally presided over closing down our stores and getting 2,500 people, you know, working from home safely and into a new environment. And then similarly, how do we reorganize and work from home? All our corporate offices shut down, I think over 2 or 3 weeks before kind of we were in official lockdown. And we just got into the groove much quicker, get people's safety taken as much as we could by allowing them taken care of by working from home, and then just refocusing. I think the other thing you probably saw a few weeks ago was that we really looked at what's the right digital campaign and what's the right message to go out to consumers with at this point in time. And for Nike, for us, that was around how do we keep people to stay connected and to stay home, because that was the right thing to do. So we launched a campaign, I don't know if you saw it, called, you know, Play for the World. And basically it was a campaign that encouraged people to stay home, encouraged people to stay active. And we got our entire network of athletes and what we call training ambassadors to engage with us in that in new ways to help produce content and get people on board with that. And then, you know, the last 2 things, digital commerce remained open. Obviously, like a lot of people, we had to adjust. Our capacity reduced initially as demand spiked, which is always a fun thing to try and manage, but actually a good problem to have at that point. So we quickly, you know, found new ways to work and started pivoting. And then, you know, really we focused on just being responsible, good citizens. And that, you know, we have something we call a maxim, which is do the right thing. And for us, that was really about supporting the communities where we live and work, with money and time on the front line. And then also pivoting some of our innovative resources. I think, you know, we had like 1,000 people doing product innovation at Nike to like, how do we develop some PPE and other stuff to support the front line? And that stuff is just starting to come to fruition now. So
yeah. And Deborah, in our conversations leading into this, you touched on the roadmap that you had existed, and what you were thinking about didn't really change too much, which is good. Obviously, there are some nuances in terms of behaviors, contactless retail and whatnot coming out of the shutdown. But in terms of how you had to scrap that roadmap and actually cram it into a short period of time, how did you do that?
Well, the good news is we didn't really have to scrap the roadmap, as you said. I think that our strategy was already, you know, we have a very strong digital business already, right? We had 36% growth going into Q3. It's already 20% of our combined business overall. And so a lot of it was around how do we double down on it, right? How do we just take the stuff that we already know we're doing and accelerate that? Some of that meant that you would, you know, you postpone things that are more about, you know, group sport, because as you know, the group and sporting events together aren't something we can do right now. You also postpone some stuff that are about like the actual physical service in a store for the moment, some of those enhancements. But, you know, I think once you do that and you really pivot some resources onto those teams to help out, and to help the digital team kind of manage it, you're really basically doubling down on a roadmap that you had, and then just making some choices around the edges.
Prioritization. And finally, interesting discussion also around surprising behavior changes or preferences that you've seen through your data and through what people are actually buying, which kind of lends to what people are doing, especially being a company of the nature that Nike is with apparel and performance and lifestyle wear. What were some insights that you've seen in the last 2 months?
Do you know, one of the things we have been so excited about has been seeing how, you know, at the core of our company is all around sport and performance and like keeping people active and healthy. And what we've seen is just this natural organic behavior that we've also helped fuel, but to support around staying active and being healthy and what you need to do that. And so all our, what I'd call our more traditional performance products like running and the apparel that goes with that, so people can work out at home, that's where we've seen a significant increase in demand. And also we always say, you know, like with females. So we've seen, you know, significantly more females engage in the last while than we've seen on both our apps and our commerce site, which, you know, for me is quite exciting, and for the business.
Come on, man, you need to wake up out there. Okay, amazing. Thanks, Deborah. We'll come to you in the Q&A very shortly. Shimona, thinking about you guys at Shopify, and really what you guys have provided the marketplace is remarkable. You guys have democratized essentially the ability for anyone to sell products and services online. So thank you for that. And you also recently launched a Shopify Capital feature that I guess perhaps could be a learning out of 2008, 2009, where I recall hearing a podcast of the founder talking about how you guys were about to close shop. Then 2000 and 2009 happened, and you guys really were an essential service to new businesses out there. And I'm sure there have been learnings. And is Shopify Capital one of those learnings coming out of that recession?
Yeah, 2008, 2009, for any of us who went through that in any capacity, we know that one of the greatest things that came from that adversity was also some of the greatest, you know, creativity and innovation that any of us have seen. I'm sure all of us have been seeing, you know, the reports on that and the reminders that, you know, there are services out there now that we wouldn't even imagine living without anymore, like Airbnb and Uber and all of those, you know, incredible technologies that came out of that time. even Instagram and WhatsApp all came around from that time, right? So the way we communicate, the way that we create relationships, the way that we get from A to B, and how we look at housing and vacationing, all of those things changed through that time, which is incredible. And so when we take a look at today, maybe the first thing, I know that myself, Deborah, and Nicole were all saying this yesterday as we chatted, which is, I don't think, there's no playbook for right now, first and foremost. Like, none of us have been through anything like this before. And so to take from something Deborah just said, which is really doubling down on a lot of the things that we're doing, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about both kind of internally and externally. And so first and foremost is actually revisiting our product roadmap, right? The first thing that we needed to do was think about, what do our merchants need right now in order to succeed and to get through this time? And it's a kind of a tall ask. You know, Shopify has 1 million merchants online, everything from, you know, the smallest, you know, someone who just started a business out of their garage to, you know, companies like, you know, Fashion Nova are doing billions of dollars a year. But what do they need right now in this very moment? And so spending a lot of time frontline, talking to merchants, you know, me personally and a lot of our leaders connecting with our frontline people and asking what they're hearing. What are the pains we're hearing? Looking at data to understand what was happening. And then how do we prioritize and double down on the areas that we think are going to help the most in this most immediate future? Toby Luca, our CEO, you know, has said that, you know, plans assume stability. And in the face of what we're facing right now, plans go out the window. And what we're seeing is, I think, everything that we thought the world was going to look like in 2030, you know, the digitization we were expecting to happen over a decade is all happening in the next, you know, 12 to 18 months. Mm-hmm. So how do we help merchants digitize faster? How do we help them pivot and be more agile right now? And to be honest with you, one of the most urgent things that we needed to do was address the challenges of cash flow that merchants are likely having right now. And so Shopify Capital was a product that we launched last year, and we've been slowly expanding to other countries. And instead we decided we needed to drop everything and double down on that. So we've been launching new countries, you know, within 5 days. So we launched Shopify Capital in the UK a week after we talked about, you know, providing some of these emergency services. We just launched Shopify Capital in Canada this week as well, so that we're able to provide cash flow to those merchants who really need it in this time. We're also thinking about how we create the right tools for merchants right now to be agile. And so also partnering them with the right agencies and technologies that they might need to be agile. We pivoted very quickly and launched curbside pickup, which, you know, so many restaurants need right now in the face of what's happening. So it's really about thinking about what people need right now, and then keeping our eye on the ball for long term and thinking about how we're going to help some of these legacy brands and retailers digitize faster than they thought they were going to have to do this. It was probably on their plan for 2, 3, 4 years from now. All of a sudden we're needing to launch, you know, large legacy brands and retailers within a few weeks. And so that's been something that we've needed to kind of wrap our arms around. Amazing. On the flip side, internally, where I'd say actually the first place that we really needed to focus in order to do all of this for our merchants is we needed to take care of our people. I don't think that I can understate the impact that this time has on employees, no matter where you are. It's health, dealing with homeschool children, whether it's working from home for the first time and trying to, you know, build connections with your teams, whether it's onboarding as a brand new employee. The first thing that we did for the first several weeks was really focus on how we keep our people healthy and help them to navigate this difficult time. So, you know, whether it's we provided a stipend to all of our employees globally to set up their home offices in any way that they saw fit, which was really great. We've launched and we're providing, in addition to all of our usual benefits, we've actually launched a new added mental health benefit where we're providing either access to wellness coaching or to therapy sessions and all kinds of other resources for our people if they need it. And we're trying to be incredibly flexible and stay really, you know, focused on our people. Lots of extra coffee times and time to connect and ensure that our people feel like they've got the space to be healthy. First and foremost, because it's our people. If we think about long-term growth and being able to support our merchants long-term, we need our people to be healthy first.
Yeah, we've got to get through this time and be able to come out with the strength. That's amazing. Thank you for those insights, Shimona. We're going to get into the broad spectrum Q&A very shortly. Nicole, as I mentioned, coming hot off the heels of your earnings call yesterday and the amazing growth trajectory of Chipotle has been something to watch very closely, especially in such a competitive space such as QSR. Congratulations to you and your team on this amazing trajectory. And our media partner, actually, Digital Magazine, has covered Chipotle twice. And actually, I think this morning just recently launched a new piece on your earnings call where I won't give anything away. I'll let you do that in terms of where things are shifting. But you also talk about the power of user experience design and differentiating yourself from your competitors in this cluttered and competitive sector of yours. And so if there's ever a time to leverage the power of user experience design, it's now. And I'd love to hear from you in terms of how has Chipotle been focusing on leveraging those skills and differentiating yourselves with user experience design at the core and a digital-centric focus.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're exactly right, Ian. Right now is a time where we have made the decision to hold tight to our user experience design principles. We took a pause along with everyone else early in the crisis to say, are we doing the right things? Are we doing the right things for our customers in the digital ecosystem, for our crew members out on the front lines? Being a critical business, we've kept our restaurants open for takeout, pickup, and delivery, and for our employees who have pivoted, obviously, to the work from home space. And as far as the digital customers are concerned, we absolutely believe that our user experience principles are still the North Star. It's still the right way to go. So we're holding tight to those and want to make sure that any of the decisions that we are making, the very tactical decisions we're making right now to pivot during the crisis, don't impact the long-term sort of North Star of those principles. So, to us, it's important that our digital experiences remain simple above all else, that they don't become cluttered and difficult to navigate. That they're food forward, using beautiful, craveable food images that our customers love to see when they open these digital products, and that we're exceeding customers' expectations. So as we're quickly making decisions today, we let those guide and make sure that we aren't, doing anything now that may undo years of foundation and hard work. That's on the user experience side. I mentioned sort of people, and at Chipotle, that has been the #1 focus over the past several weeks through this crisis. So first, our customers. We have a very strong digital business, obviously, and we have a strong delivery business as part of that. We're going to double down. I think that's going to be language of the day here. We're going to double down there and continue to accelerate it by investing more and focusing more broadly and deeper. We're also changing the way we engage with our customers to shift more towards the digital and virtual. So we launched Chipotle Together, a virtual sort of entertainment series as we were all getting used to the realities of working from home and teaching our children from home. We also have been providing meals for healthcare workers on the front line and trying to give where we can to the people who are out there every day, taking care of others. And lastly, on the customer side, direct relief is another thing. We're donating a portion of e-gift card receipts or e-gift card sales towards that group. So trying to help with those on the front line. When I shift to our employee experience, we have tens of thousands of employees on the front lines of this every day as well, getting delicious, real food to our customers. We're uniquely positioned to support them in that, we have industry-leading best-in-class food safety measures that already included wellness checks, hand washing, air purification and treatment systems in our restaurants, Purell, and of course, regular sanitation and cleansing. So of course, continue that path. And then we've added to that contactless delivery options, curbside delivery in certain markets, front door delivery in others, as well as tamper-evident packaging for all of the food that's actually being delivered to you in your home. And third, I would say our supply chain, our sustainable supply chain, and our farmers is the other group of people we've been really focused on at this time. So we're continuing to grant grants to farmers and entrepreneurs who are changing the food system and making strides with local sourcing and sustainable sourcing. And then we're also requesting emergency funds from Congress in order to support sustainable agriculture and that supply chain a little bit more. So people are at the forefront of everything we're doing right now at Chipotle.
That's incredible. And thank you for that insight, and congratulations on that quick pivot. I think you guys had a little advantage in having a digital focus coming into this pandemic. So that worked well in your favor. Thinking about the proportion of dark stores going forward for you guys, obviously that might not have been something in your roadmap, but now might be something that you have to take very seriously. And I think it goes the same for Deborah at Nike with your own retail coming out of this. You've got wonderful footprints with a lot of exposure to people closely in their communities. What proportion of your outlets are going to become dark stores?
I'll start, Deborah, if that's all right. So, we talk about dark kitchens, or and we call them delivery kitchens, a lot at Chipotle, and whether it makes sense to continue or accelerate down a path of opening up these dark kitchens or delivery kitchens in specific markets. And then we stop and we say, wait, we have 2,600 of those. Every single one of our locations nearly has a second make line to support the digital business. So it's dedicated crew, dedicated space, to execute on those orders and to deliver them with care. So we already have 2,600 dark kitchens. We call them our delivery kitchens, and they're in communities across the US.
Amazing. And yourself, Deborah?
Yeah, I think Nicole makes an excellent point around one. I think we need to rebrand dark stores. What do you ladies?
Yeah, please.
I feel like it's the light that it brings. But just for a moment, you can tell I'm not in marketing. But I think the way we're thinking about it is very similar. So we do have an amazing distribution network. We've been able to keep our digital business running and supplied. Our timelines are not at the speed they were pre-crisis, but they're still coming, and people are still getting the things they order. That being said, our roadmap already involved, increasingly allowing ourselves to get access to what we call the whole marketplace. So wherever we have inventory that is something a consumer desires, we want to be able to get that to them as quickly as possible. That's our ultimate strategy. And so what something like this does is just, again, it's one of the areas where we were already moving quite swiftly down that path, and it will just probably accelerate some of the momentum around those pieces. But again, for us, that's both the stores we own, but our full vision would be the whole marketplace, which would include our multi-brand partners that we work with to bring amazing Nike products to consumers. So
we spoke about this before too, where it's not like the vision for the future is changing, because essentially when we come out of this and people get back to the new normal, so to speak, it's kind of going to expedite that need for better retail experiences in the bricks and mortar space, because people will be humans and they'll still want to go through that showrooming experience. And your digital infrastructure will need to be in place to fulfill the demands coming out of that. So it's kind of, I'd love your thoughts on that, how you might imagine in a year's time, let's try and go forward that far ahead, what that could look like, and how it might expedite some of those plans you might have had to improve the bricks and mortar retail experience and connect it more closely with your digital platforms. Deborah.
Yeah, I'll kick off. I think that, really the areas that we'll really continue to invest in, and we are all the way through this situation. So of course, we've looked at our investment strategies and continue to make those choices, will be what you would call omni-channel, or, some version of that, the things that connect your digital and physical world, and make a seamless shopping experience for consumers. And I think, as you hit it spot on, Ian, that in a place and time where things are digitized, people do still get a really strong connection from being in physical contact and in spaces that inspire them, and where they can learn about product, and also where they can interact with what we call our athletes, which are our store employees, that are a phenomenal source of wealth, of inspiration and product knowledge, and service that people want to get access to. But again, at the same time, we're going to accelerate the things that allow us to digitize that, and allow you to speak to those people, especially if we have capacity, right? So those are the kinds of things where I'd say really where we take the strengths of the online and offline world and we connect them are the areas where we'll continue to focus, but accelerate as fast as we can.
Absolutely. And I guess, Nicole, from your end, coming to you shortly, and Shimona with a question on Shopify, but Nicole, on your end, improving that experience of being in your restaurants, it will be expedited, I guess.
That's right. I think I really like how Deborah said she's kind of taking the best of the digital and the best of the physical, and bringing them together to improve both. And I think that's a really smart approach. I'm going to kind of lay that over some of our plans and make sure we're doing the same. I think for us, the way that we would be merging would be sort of accelerating our focus on Chipotlane, which is the pickup experience where you traditional drive-through window, but rather than ordering, you're picking up your order. So you have a bit of interaction with the crew member at the window, and it's quick, it's seamless, and you're not paying for the convenience of delivery. Expanding delivery to make sure that our customers, no matter where they are at home, can also have our food delivered to them just as they would have in the office or at university. And then that omni-channel, and looking that approach and looking at how we can bring the digital experience sort of into our brick and mortar restaurants, focusing mostly around engagement, payments, and sort of accelerating the payment strategy, and Chipotle Rewards, which is our loyalty program. And I think that those are the three areas where we can really bring digital to life within the stores, Chipotlane just outside of the stores, and then making sure we're caring for your experience when you have Chipotle delivered to you at home.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Shimona, I want to turn to you for a second here. And now that we're in this digital focused world and digital only right now, it's all about data, and being structured to be able to collect that data, manipulate it, understand it, and deploy it as effectively and quickly as possible to make the right enhancements to your platform to best serve your merchants. Can you think of any examples where you've used data in the last few weeks or months, should I say, to improve the experience for your merchants, to ultimately then improve the experience for their customers?
Yeah, and in fact, I think it even makes more sense for me to share how our merchants are doing it.
Yeah.
Before I do that, do you mind me adding on to the previous question, though?
Go for it, please do.
Yeah, online and offline, because I'd love to just share what we're seeing, brands that are winning, what we're seeing them doing, and it's kind of an extension of what Deborah and Nicole are saying here. I know omni-channel is such a big word. I think couple of ways that I'm seeing it, like really great D2C brands that are digitally native, that are winning, like Gymshark and Rothy's and Allbirds and these great brands. They view the offline world, or that brick and mortar world, as another marketing channel and not a sales channel first, right? And this is where like really great brands like Nike, like Deborah just said, like, how do you create the experience? How do you extend the experience and the relationship with the brand into the store? Right? So view it as a marketing channel and not just your primary distribution channel, your sales channel, which is really great. And then for those retail heavy, kind of high-end brands like luxury, especially, who really focus a lot on that in-store experience to create the connection with the product. They're really product forward and really create the relationship with the brand that way. Brands who have had salespeople in the stores for 35 and 40 years, and that's their connection to the brand. They have to start to think more about how you bring that relationship and the brand story and elevation of the product to the online world, right? Yeah. So now you have to start to elevate things like AR and VR, to to, to create that connection with the product. Bring video online right into your product pages so that you're watching like the movements of your products and really being able to connect with it, and start to tell your compelling stories as well on the product in a multi-channel format, right? Whether it's across social. So yeah, two quick things I wanted to add there because they were going down such a great thread that I wanted to jump in. Data. Right now it's about, learn, try something, experiment, learn, pivot, be agile. And so I'd say internally, I'm monitoring data from top of the funnel right through to the bottom of the funnel on a daily basis. And we're taking a look at trends, what retailers, what geographies are winning, what verticals are winning right now, and where are we seeing ourselves win, and where are we seeing our merchants win. What I'm seeing most with merchants is they need to start to pivot right now on an almost daily basis because the physical world is changing around them, whether it's logistics and shipping companies that, change regulations every single day, or warehouses that have to shut down on almost a daily basis. A product that might have been profitable for them to ship yesterday, with one change of a logistics company's, regulations, it may no longer be, and all of a sudden they're in a position to have to start refunding products and shipping logistics. So they need a really agile platform so that they can continue to do that. And they need to be able to play right now with what's resonating with consumers, right? What product mixes are actually working, what add-ons are working. If you're a fashion and apparel brand, you're probably hurting right now in many cases. Are you staying focused on the things that are most relevant, like athletics or loungewear or things like that? And you creating the right bundles? Are you playing with loyalty? Are you playing with different checkout experiences? So that's the data that merchants really need to be using, is, the metrics that are coming through the experimentation and the implementation of, storytelling, channels, all of the other channels that they're using, and different checkout experiences and mixes. You've got to pivot on a daily basis right now.
A lot of companies that might be listening in today aren't necessarily the Nikes and Chipotles of the world, and their e-commerce businesses might not be doing as well. And so I think two things is, one, Shopify Capital, thank you so much for that on their behalf. That's a wonderful innovation. And secondly, using your data that you have exposure to support them in making better decisions about how to improve their performance in sales across different channels, as you just summarized so neatly there. And Shimon, I just want to stay on you for 1 second here, is in terms of advice to those businesses that I just alluded to that might be looking for the best solutions for e-commerce experiences. What are the top 3 must-haves for a seamless online shopping experience? Very simple, fundamental guidance for these businesses.
Yeah, as I thought about this question, to be honest with you, I think I had a list of about 7 things. I'm going to try and keep it concise. The very first, though, is to be remarkable. Honestly, in a time like this, it's going to be so important for you to have a unique story that you're willing to tell in order to grab your customers' attention and to hold it and to drive them through to checkout. If all they wanted was a commodity, they'd run to a marketplace. And so why are they going to come to you for your unique brand? Allbirds is really great at this. They are so forthcoming and on their mission to create a zero carbon world. And that's the story they tell on a regular basis, right? Really great shoes, but their mission is what they're forward with, and where they really align values with their customers. And so you better be remarkable and have a story to tell, and tell people what you value most, right? And give them a reason to connect with you and come to you. So first and foremost, it's not going to be about like how cheap your product is, because that could happen anywhere. You better have a really great story and a set of values that you want to share.
Amazing.
The second is to create a really great and seamless and as frictionless as possible checkout experience. Provide them the payment options that they need that create accelerated checkout, like Shopify Pay or Apple Pay or something like that. Having accelerated checkout options improves your conversion rate, in the double digits. And so have a checkout and give them the payment options that they're looking for, depending on the region that they're in. And the last, honestly, is to have a really agile platform. If the most important thing for you right now is to be agile, then you need to have an agile platform, which means, a platform that is SaaS, that's developing quickly. Obviously, like even if you're a really large brand, I know that you might think in the future you want to build something for yourself and be on-prem and be able to hug your servers. But for now, you need to really think agile and experimentation. You need someone that's focused on building all the right products. Outside of capital and curbside pickup, we just launched gift cards as well, which has been really great because a lot of brands are looking at giving away gift cards to local restaurants, as part of an add-on at checkout, which is really great. So finding ways to be able to support local, you need an agile platform that's going to do that for you. So agile platform, really great, seamless, frictionless checkout, and a really compelling story.
Amazing. That's great advice. Would you, Deborah or Nicole, like to build on that?
I mean, I think that's hard to build on because Shimona just hit it spot on. And, you'd say from small all the way to big, it's the same story. I would say those three things are pivotal. And I just thought maybe I'd pick on the having something to say just to give people, ideas about that if they can put it into their own context. Because we do know at times like this, strong brands get even stronger and brands get created. Both happen in these crises. And I would say that the way we thought about it here was figuring out how to stay true to whatever your values are, like the thing, as Shimona said, that makes you unique, but then pivoting in a way that is authentic to speak to that in a relevant way for the current situation. So for where consumers are. So if I put that in Nike terms, I talked about this play inside, play for the world. Our brand ethos is about moving the world forward through sport. And that is also through connecting people and through your mental and physical health that you get from that. And so, for us to pivot that to how do you do that in this environment? And then to drive all our marketing and ecosystem around activity. Our priority was actually not commerce. Our priority was the message about play inside, play for the world, and getting our what we call activity apps and all our partners and athletes to participate in motivating people to do that through everything from Instagram to our own channels and paid search, just everything that you could see as a channel you would normally use to drive other marketing or other commerce things. That was our primary focus. And that kind of authentically speaks to our values and to our strategy and is highly relevant for the time. And then what we learned from China and what we're seeing now is, if you're actively, a fringe benefit in some ways is the fact if you're actively engaged now in running 5 kilometers a day, you kind of need a good pair of shoes. And the great thing is we have fantastic shoe innovations that have come from people who have run 5,000 miles to help you do that. So, I think it's I tell that story not because, Nike, big brand, can do it, but actually it just comes from authentic. What is the core of what we're trying to do? How does that help in the current situation? And the commerce will follow.
Yeah, love that build. And Nicole, what I'd like to change the question for you a little bit here, because Deborah, you touched on the importance of smart marketing now and digital marketing being such an essential quiver in anyone's skill set for a brand to be successful. Nicole, how are you thinking about new platforms, channels, and tactics to bring the new news of Chipotle Digital to the marketplace, which might be a surprise to some?
Increased awareness that Chipotle is here, that we offer, real food delivered to our customers in the way they see fit, whether that's to them directly or for pickup, that they can order wherever they are in a way that's easy and seamless for them, and just making sure that customers know that these are available to them has been a big focus for our marketing team. And they have done an exceptional job of pivoting away from live sports and other large sorts of partnerships, as I know, Nike has as well, to finding customers in the digital space, right? We're on Zoom, we're on the social channels, we're leveraging LinkedIn, we're connecting in all these other ways. We're meeting people there. So I mentioned Chipotle Together was one way to do that. But they've just done an exceptional job of increasing the spend on digital, kind of pulling away from live TV, and then also streaming and the many opportunities available on the streaming channels has been a new focus or an increased focus for our team as well. Another thing that we really focus on is sort of driving culture. So looking for opportunities to do that in today's state, and that's whether that's helping frontline workers or some of the other things that we're doing virtually with influencers and stars. So just sort of changing what you would have done in a room together or in a venue together. If you would have done live, how can you do that virtually and do it quickly?
That's amazing. Thank you. And guys, before we get into a rapid fire round of questions, I'd like to finish with a question for each of you, which is what excites you the most about the future of retail as you see it now, maybe outside of this pandemic, but and beyond? A couple of thoughts there. Let's start with Shimona, Deborah, then Nicole.
Sure. I think the thing that's exciting me the most is the pace of change right now. And watching, like I said before, legacy brands really bring themselves forward into this decade and start to digitize quickly. Maybe they've been forced a little bit into changing this fast, but they're embracing it. And I think what we're going to see from that are elevated relationships with customers and a better buying experience and better options. Our mission, of course, is to democratize commerce for everyone. And that's actually what I see happening now as we're building these relationships. The best example I could give you right now is from this past week. Heinz just went digital for their first time in their over 100-year history. They've launched, Heinz to Home here in the UK to get essentials to people who can't get out shopping, and they're providing free shipping to NHS, health and safety workers. And we launched them in 7 days. Right. And this is a company that probably would have taken months to make a decision and to build their infrastructure in the past. Instead, in the face of what's happening, they were willing to pivot, make decisions, and provide a customer experience like never before. They're going to learn from that and build great relationships with their customers. So what excites me right now is the pace of change.
Amazing. Yourself, Deborah?
I think what I'm most excited about is our chance to actually serve consumers even better, because by digitizing right now and getting people engaged in a different platform, as I talked about that merge between the best of digital and physical, we are actually going to know people better, and we can actually serve up better, more personalized content. At least that's my belief, and we can already see ourselves doing it both online and when they come in the store. So as a Nike member, we work to connect that experience. And now that people are engaging in more platforms and more activities, we can get smarter and even better at giving them what they want. And that's probably accelerated by a couple years, as Shimona said, because of the fact that people have been put into this period where digital is the only way to interact, and they've been creative and found each other and tried new things, which probably again would have taken a much longer curve to get a good group of people onto that. You probably have stories all yourselves. I have stories of my father, engaging in his first curbside pickup. He went to the DIY store, and he lives in Toronto, for those who are wondering. And the way he was describing this, he is nearly 80. So you can imagine this experience of him going online and doing it, but it was revolutionary for him. Now, I know we're not all trying to attract the 80-year-old consumer as our main staple. Some brands will be, but people are trying new things, and we're going to learn a whole lot more about them.
Awesome. And yourself, Nicole?
Yeah, I love the conversation around rate of change for brands and companies, but also for consumers. I think that's really interesting, and I think that excites me, though I hadn't thought about it in those terms before. But to further exceed our customers' expectations, and I think that the intersection of digital and physical coming together, where technology and data can work together to exceed expectations in both of those spaces, and that just being amplified and coming faster, and the innovation coming faster. I think that is what I'm really, really looking forward to, and the impact that it has on our business and others, and on the customer experience.
That's fantastic. Great insights, guys. And thank you for that, for sharing that. Okay, with a few minutes to go, I'm going to pick a few of these amazing questions. There are hundreds of questions, so just bear with me as I pick a few and direct them at one of you as I see fit. One question here is, storytelling that happens between CX and retail employees is an essential and positive experience in retail. How does that human storytelling experience translate or look like in the digital space? Great question, Bilal. Let's go to Deborah. Or anyone else that wants to pick that one.
I was like throwing me a tough one in one sense. Look, I'll take one slice at it. I think that there's a component, and this is a non-technical way of answering the question, which is human stories are still the stories that people are most interested in. And so I think the reality is you're still looking for a human story often, which has happened in the physical world. You know, an example you probably see on some of our channels right now is we're featuring some of our athletes, which are store associates, but who in their own right are athletes, and their stories and how they're staying fit and what's keeping them inspired to our consumers through our digital channel. So that'd be one, example of how storytelling will show up from something we're doing in physical and one of our store athletes out to the consumer space. And then I'll turn it over to one of my esteemed panelists to take another technical angle at it.
Yeah, ours is similar, Deborah, where we take opportunities to tell stories about farmers and distributors who are making our supply chain possible. And we're also turning to crew members inside of our restaurants and letting them tell their story and tell the Chipotle story. And I think people definitely are looking for that sort of human connection and the human story, maybe now more than ever.
It's fantastic. Okay, question here. This one is interesting. You all say you've been having a digital focus, but what strategies have you put in place, i.e. specific channels have you focused on, and how much has this changed from before COVID? Maybe it hasn't, maybe it's just been expedited. Shimona, do you want to start that one?
Sure. And I'll speak on behalf of best practices for merchants, and then it'd be really great probably to get specifics from Deborah and Nicole. But channels are to be used based on your knowledge of your customer, right? So the cool part about digital is the opportunity to actually learn about your customer, with their profile, their persona, their likes, their habits. Your whole goal on digital is to meet your customer where they are, right? This is not the old world of retail where your customer has to come to you. Yeah. Digital is about you going to your customer and meeting them where they are. So if you're dealing with, Gen Z, you're getting comfortable with, TikTok. If you are, if you're dealing with millennials, you're probably talking to them somewhere on Instagram or other channels, and you're thinking about remarketing. So it's the channel you're using depends on your customer and your relationship with them and what you understand about them. It's about going to them where they are, not trying to draw them to you.
Amazing. Great. Okay, next question is for Deborah. Based on the tectonic shifts, as we mentioned, that are happening around the world, and in ways by which the brands like Nike are operating businesses, what would be the kind of specific skill sets that professionals need to equip themselves with in order to make themselves relevant to the emerging business models that are coming down the pipeline? And I think that question really does bring into focus the digital economy that we touch on. Any thoughts there in terms of what advice you might give to a professional looking to future-proof themselves and be ready to take on retail in the future?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's a question we've started to probably all ask ourselves for the last few years. And with great companies like yourselves, you're helping professionals kind of start to get some of those skills to be comfortable, all the way from, as you said, like fluency all the way up to mastery in those areas. So one, I would say, I think it's important to have a base level of knowledge about the different areas of digital both commerce and marketing that businesses are deploying. By no means does that mean you need to know to write code if that's not where you're going to go. But I think understanding the basics of that is important. You know, to speak from personal experience, I pivoted into Amazon with that explicit, about how many years ago now? I'm going to age myself, with the explicit goal of learning. You know, in a giant in the space, you don't have to go that far, but just sharing quite openly, that was my goal. And so I was working for a much older style business that I just wasn't thought a place where I was going to learn as fast the skills that I wanted to. So that's definitely one place I would go. And then on the flip side, Shimona mentioned a lot about agile in terms of the crisis, but actually that itself is a skill in the new economy. And so I think the term itself is probably used and misused sometimes in terms of what it means. Sometimes people mean agile means free flowing, which if you actually read agile principles, they are very strict.
Very specific. Building a digital product, you need agile mechanisms and actual team management, to build that product.
Exactly. So I think that, you know, use the time now, which is the leadership skills you build in being you know, connected and over communicating, being, you know, empathetic but decisive in making decisions and being willing to pivot and kind of building that muscle both in your leadership styles and in your teams is a key to surviving in the new digital future. And it's also the key to excelling in this crisis. And so I think in one way, it's you know, a silver lining in what we're going to have to do and how we're going to have to operate right now.
Yeah, we've seen a wonderful amount of people that are actually taking this time to learn a new skill. It's not for a specific set of people. Anyone can upskill themselves in this time. So you won't regret it. We strongly advise it. And guys, just conscious of time, I'm going to wrap up what I've heard in this discussion, which has been so brilliant, and we've had a lot of positive feedback already through the panel. I've got 3, maybe 4 points that I'd like to summarize for those tuning in. I think the first takeaway is the fact that digitization is happening faster than we ever thought it would ever happen, and thriving retailers and brands had digital strategies and are now adjusting just to double down on speeding up their roadmaps. Secondly, is that data is key to be able to assess product roadmaps and marketing decisions going forward. Your marketing is going to be data informed, and the channels that you deploy your campaigns within, and also the information you use to improve your digital products and platforms, your e-commerce platforms, to enhance that experience. To Shimona's points earlier, choosing the right channels and the right features within your experience to make it more enjoyable. Thirdly is employee management and customer support is even more essential than ever before, I think. And especially when you think about remote working, health and safety, don't forget about your people. Your people matter. Survive this with them and come out stronger than ever before. And I think the last 2 add-ons are that brands have to be willing to be more agile than ever before. And that can mean 2 things. One is just being flexible and willing to move. And the other is actually employing the actual practical skill sets of agile digital development to create things faster and more meaningfully. And then lastly, offline channels may become more of a marketing channel. And I heard that loud and clear, which is really interesting. Not a fulfillment platform just to drive sales. It is really how to express your brand and actually make a stronger connection with your customers. I hope that summarizes our conversation to some degree. I know that people are probably trying to get into their 2 o'clock meeting here on the East Coast and on the West Coast. I just also want to thank our panelists. Thank you so much. In such a crazy time, you've taken up valuable time to come and share your insights with us. Congratulations on all the amazing work all of your companies are doing. I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you, and we look forward to bringing you into our community more so in the future. And I guess finally, for those of you still tuned in, if you want to enjoy another panel like this, but talking about the future of marketing, how content and social media marketing in 2020 and beyond is going to change, we look forward to bringing that to you on May 7th, same time, same place, from Brooklyn. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and stay safe.
Thanks.
Take care.